When the Sussex brand first launched after stepping away from royal duties, it arrived with extraordinary fanfare. There were massive promises, billion-dollar expectations, and endless media attention. The Netflix deal, the Spotify deal, the high-profile interviews, the memoir, the documentaries, the speeches about creating a new model for public service and celebrity influence outside the monarchy. But despite all the publicity, very little of it has truly delivered the long-term success many expected. The Spotify partnership collapsed publicly. Netflix has struggled to find consistent momentum with Sussex projects. Harry's memoir Spare sold millions of copies, but it came at an enormous personal cost, damaging relationships inside the royal family and significantly affecting public perception of Harry himself. Even the Archie Foundation faced embarrassing headlines after being declared delinquent by the state of California before later resolving the issue. Meanwhile, the grand Hollywood takeover many predicted simply never materialized. The endless deals, partnerships, and commercial opportunities that were supposed to transform Harry and Meghan into one of the most powerful celebrity couples in the world largely failed to appear. And that reality matters because, commercially speaking, the Sussex brand desperately needs a reset. It needs something fresh, something emotional, something capable of dominating headlines worldwide again, something that can reignite interest from broadcasters, publishers, streaming platforms, and major media outlets. And according to many people who closely follow the Sussex strategy, there has always been one final card left to play. The children. Archie and Lilibet have been carefully protected from public view for years. Officially, the explanation has always been privacy. Harry and Meghan repeatedly claimed they wanted their children to grow up away from cameras, away from public pressure, and free from the intense scrutiny that shaped Harry's own childhood. But critics argue there may have been another reason entirely, because the moment those children are publicly revealed in a major way, especially in Britain, the commercial value is enormous. Magazine covers, documentary opportunities, brand partnerships, global media attention. These are not just celebrity children. These are the grandchildren of a king, and that kind of reveal carries extraordinary financial and media value. According to royal insiders and commentators, any potential trip to the United Kingdom would not simply be about Harry reconnecting with his father. It would not just be about introducing the children to King Charles for emotional family reasons. Critics believe it serves another purpose entirely, reminding the world, and more importantly, reminding potential business partners, that Harry is still connected to the royal family. That connection remains the foundation of the Sussex brand, and that creates a painful situation for King Charles himself, because some royal commentators believe Harry is now using the emotional bond of family as part of a broader public strategy. Sources close to the situation claim that the Sussexes have been carefully waiting for the perfect moment to introduce Archie and Lilibet more publicly, and many believe that moment has now arrived. The irony is impossible to ignore. This is the same couple who left Britain insisting they needed to escape relentless media intrusion. The same couple who repeatedly emphasized protecting their children's privacy and shielding them from public life. Yet now, critics say they appear to be preparing for precisely the opposite. The children who were once kept hidden from British cameras may soon be brought directly into the center of one of the biggest media stories in the world. And according to royal observers, this shift is not happening accidentally. It is happening strategically. The process, they argue, follows a very familiar pattern. A source close to Meghan quietly speaks to a sympathetic journalist. Another source close to Harry confirms details to a second outlet. Soon afterward, a third publication publishes emotionally framed details emphasizing healing, reconciliation, family unity, and King Charles wanting to see his grandchildren. Before long, what may actually be a carefully orchestrated media strategy suddenly appears to the public as a deeply emotional family story. The messaging has been remarkably consistent across multiple publications. Harry and Meghan may reportedly bring Archie and Lilibet to the United Kingdom during events connected to the Invictus Games. The emotional framing remains identical everywhere. A father wanting his children to know their grandfather. a grandfather longing to reconnect with family, and a possible path toward healing after years of painful estrangement. On the surface, it sounds impossible to criticize. Who would object to children meeting their grandfather? Who would oppose reconciliation inside a fractured family? And critics argue that is exactly why the strategy is so effective, because once the story becomes emotional, it becomes very difficult to challenge publicly without appearing cold-hearted. But behind the emotional language, many commentators see something much more calculated, a deliberate and commercially driven media operation. One particular moment during all this coverage revealed just how strategic the timing may have been. On the same day, headlines exploded about the possible Sussex family reunion. Catherine, Princess of Wales, made her long-awaited return to Royal Ascot after battling serious health issues. And by nearly every public measure, Catherine completely dominated the moment. She appeared graceful, warm, authentic, and genuinely happy to return to public life. There was no carefully coordinated media rollout, no emotional press campaign, no orchestrated leaks. She simply showed up. Crowds responded instantly. Footage of Catherine interacting naturally with people spread across social media. Prince William's relaxed reactions and playful moments with the public generated enormous affection online. The public response felt organic, emotional, and overwhelmingly positive. And that matters because many royal commentators believe the Sussex media announcements were intentionally timed to compete with Catherine's return to the spotlight. But if that was the goal, it failed completely. British newspapers overwhelmingly chose Catherine as their main story. Public attention centered on her resilience, dignity, and return to royal duties rather than on the Sussex family speculation. And according to critics, this exposed a deeper problem the Sussex operation has never fully understood. You cannot manufacture genuine public affection. You cannot force emotional connection through strategy alone. People recognize authenticity when they see it. That contrast in between carefully managed PR campaigns and organic public admiration has become one of the defining themes of the modern royal story. Many royal observers now argue that the Sussex strategy has evolved over time. In the early years, the approach was direct confrontation, explosive interviews, documentaries, memoirs, accusations, and public criticism of the royal family. But those tactics created backlash. Now the approach appears softer, more emotionally framed, and far more sophisticated. Instead of accusations, the language centers around healing. Instead of attacks, the messaging focuses on family. Instead of outrage, the story becomes about children and reconciliation. And that creates an extremely difficult situation for Buckingham Palace. Because if the palace welcomes the Sussexes warmly, critics argue it strengthens the Sussex commercial brand by reconnecting them publicly to the monarchy. But if the palace keeps distance, the Sussex narrative can frame Harry as the son trying to reconcile while the institution appears cold and unresponsive. Either way, the Sussexes dominate headlines. Meanwhile, another major issue sits at the center of this entire story: security. Harry has spent years fighting legal battles over police protection in the United Kingdom after losing publicly funded security when stepping back from royal duties. Reports surrounding this possible visit strongly suggest security arrangements remain one of the biggest priorities behind the scenes. Critics argue Harry wants something much larger than temporary protection for a single trip. They believe he wants the benefits and infrastructure of royal status, security, prestige, access, and official treatment, while simultaneously operating independently as a commercial celebrity figure in California. But Buckingham Palace and the late Queen Elizabeth reportedly made one thing clear years ago: half in, half out royal life was never an option, and many insiders believe that position has not changed. Still, the Sussex strategy continues because, from a media perspective, it works even if no private family meeting ever actually happens. The headlines themselves are valuable, the speculation is valuable, the emotional framing is valuable, and most importantly, the royal connection remains valuable. At the center of all this, however, is Prince Harry himself. And this is where the story becomes genuinely tragic for many observers. Because even critics who strongly oppose the Sussex strategy often acknowledge something important. Harry himself may be deeply conflicted. People who knew him years ago describe someone who genuinely misses his family, genuinely regrets how much has been lost, and genuinely worries about his father's declining health. King Charles is dealing with serious health concerns. Time feels more fragile now than ever before, and many insiders believe Harry fears repeating one of the greatest emotional regrets of his life, losing precious time with a parent before it is too late. That emotional reality may absolutely be genuine.